Of course, we're celebrating the 4th of July today, but this year, celebrations will look different from years past for some families. In the Los Angeles area, many local celebrations have been canceled due to fears of ICE raids, especially in predominantly Hispanic communities. This is happening as a new memo from the Department of Justice is gaining attention. In it, the White House directs federal attorneys to focus their efforts on denaturalization cases and revoking citizenship from naturalized citizens who have committed certain crimes. By the way, denaturalization cases are nothing new. Both President Obama and President Trump during his first term expanded the use of denaturalization, using it to target immigrants who lied about their involvement in criminal groups on their immigration applications. However, the threshold to pursue denaturalization is extremely high. In 2017, under the first Trump administration, the DOJ filed just 30 denaturalization cases, according to the Miami Herald. So, what does this new memo mean for the millions of naturalized citizens living in the United States? Joining us now is immigration attorney Kathleen Martinez. Kathleen, good to see you.
Good morning.
So first of all, there are 25 million naturalized citizens living in the U.S. right now, as you know. Should they be concerned about what this new DOJ memo is calling for?
Most naturalized citizens should not be concerned about this at all. Like you said, this is not new. Multiple administrations have practiced the policy of denaturalization, and most people are not eligible.
So, Kathleen, at this point, you're saying that if people aren't concerned, it also has to do with how complicated this all is. Can you talk us through the process of what this actually means? How does this work?
Sure. So in order to be, I guess, subject to litigation for denaturalization, you have to either be a convicted war criminal or you have to have obtained your citizenship through fraud. And it's very, very difficult to put someone in this situation. The Trump administration managed to only denaturalize about 100 people last time. And Biden did about 24 cases because it's so difficult. There's a process to obtaining green cards and then citizenship that typically weed these people out. It's so difficult to obtain it originally that to be able to take it away from you once you've actually naturalized is very rare.
So are there certain groups of immigrants who would be more likely to be subject for denaturalization under this memo? And I'm sort of just thinking about the resources that are required to do something like this to the scale that the president seems to be indicating he wants done. I mean, is the standard applied, for example, to people of Russian descent who have been involved in criminal proceedings the same way that it might for somebody who's from Guatemala originally?
I mean, on paper, but in reality, we're all seeing who he's, I guess, the Trump administration is targeting right now, and who I fear are people who are pro-Palestinian or have voiced their advocacy and publicly. We see what he did with student visas. I feel like those are the people who he is going to target in this administration.
Kathleen, obviously big news coming out of the Big Beautiful Bill, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, which allocates tens of billions of dollars to building more detention facilities and also boosting the capabilities of ICE and its officers. How do you expect this surge in funding will really impact the work that you and other immigration attorneys are doing right now?
Sure. So under the Biden administration, I was doing a lot of affirmative actions, or applications, like applying for a green card, naturalization. I wasn't doing as much removal defense work, and now I'm doing a lot of removal defense as well as bond. So ICE has a quota. They have to arrest up to 3,000 immigrants a day. And unfortunately, a lot of people are not deportable who they're arresting. They're making massive mistakes and they're not screening these immigrants properly. So immigration attorneys like myself are having to get people out on bond or released in general for being wrongfully detained who are not even deportable.
The other thing that I find really fascinating on this Independence Day, it's ironic that there are some people who get angry when folks like yourself try to give advice to people on how to protect themselves in situations like this. And the advice that you give is in using the legal due process that is afforded to everyone in this country. So what steps would you take to advise people to protect themselves proactively as this bill goes into effect?
It really depends on your immigration history, whether you are subject to ICE jurisdiction or whether you're actually deportable, because surprisingly enough, not all 11 million undocumented immigrants in the United States are actually subject to deportation. Just because you're undocumented does not mean that you are a criminal, and it does not mean that you are deportable. So If you are in one of those vulnerable situations where you actually are deportable or subject to ICE jurisdiction, it's very important that you know your rights. That if you have some kind of temporary protective status, like DACA, TPS, asylee status, keep proof of it. Keep your documents on you at all times. You might be wrongfully detained, but it doesn't mean you'll be deported. So if you are detained, you need to reserve your right to remain silent, and you also need to be able to call your attorney and refuse to answer any questions without an attorney. If you are detained, you need to request a hearing in front of a judge. If you cannot afford an attorney, you can ask the judge for a list of pro bono attorneys so you can call them immediately.
All right, Kathleen Martinez, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.